Thank you, Honourable Member. Yes, Honourable Ranking Member on Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the establishment of the GoldBod is coming after the success of the domestic gold purchase program. The domestic exchange purchase program by the Bank of Ghana started in June 2021. At that time, Ghana's total gold reserve was 8.74 tons. By the end of 2024, it increased to 30.5 tons. That's an increase by about 21.8 tons in 3 years. 3 years. From independence to 2021, it was just 8.74 tons. In 3 years, the domestic gold purchase program increased it by 21.8 tons. That was very significant. It worked well for us. But government has decided to change policy. While government has recognized the contribution of the domestic gold purchase program in increasing our reserves as a country, which ended 2024 with about 8.9 billion United States dollars, government has decided to change policy through the establishment of the GoldBod. Mr. Speaker, I have a problem with the structure of the GoldBod itself. The GoldBod is a commercial entity. When this bill is passed, it will be a commercial entity. It will trade gold. It will export gold. It will be a regulator by issuing licenses, and it will be a court because it will have its own tribunal. 3 in 1, jack of all trades. But Mr. Speaker, the model where institutions are established to play multiple roles, particularly combining commercial role with regulatory role, is no longer best practice. Best practice requires that commercial role is separate from regulatory role in different institutions so that you can have checks and balances, so that you can avoid conflict of interest. This was why in the oil industry, we separated Petroleum Commission from GNPC, where GNPC was to play a purely commercial role and the Petroleum Commission was to play a purely regulatory role. That is best practice. But in this age, when the world has moved towards unbundling roles in institutions, we are rather bundling and bringing the role of commercial operation with regulatory, duty to one institution, one organization. Mr. Speaker, I think that if we don't take care, we will lose the checks and balances required between regulation and commerce. We will lose our ability to prevent conflict of interest. And this is why I think that the structure of the GoldBod is problematic. Mr. Speaker, the bill is also introducing what we call collateralization of assets. Collateralization of assets means that the GoldBod, when this bill is passed, can pledge its right or interest in any asset. The gold that they buy are assets of the GoldBod. They can pledge it against any loan that they take, any facility that they take. In the event of a default, the gold can be taken. Now, government is funding the GoldBod. And so if the GoldBod decides to take loans from other financial institutions, it will mean that in the event of a default, government will be underwriting those facilities, even if those facilities are expensive. And I'm worried whether this is the best use of the taxpayers' money, to use the taxpayers' money to underwrite expensive loans that the GoldBod may take, particularly if the GoldBod defaults and the gold that is bought with government money will have to be seized. This is not good practice, Mr. Speaker. And this was why, in passing the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, we are very careful to avoid collateralization of petroleum assets. It was only the ABFA that Parliament agreed to collateralize, but not the petroleum assets. So in a similar vein, I would have expected us to learn a lesson from this and ensure that we do not collateralize the assets of the GoldBod. Mr. Speaker, besides this, arrangements for collateralization and securitization are complex. They are very complex arrangements. It requires professional knowledge. It requires specialized knowledge to structure arrangements for collateralization. And this is a new organization we are seeking to establish. And I just want to caution that the CEO will be interested in the kind of people he will be appointing to work in the GoldBod. He has to appoint people with professional knowledge, people with specialized knowledge, so that we don't pack it with food soldiers of the party. That will not help us as a country. We need people who can help us structure such commercial transactions such that the gold that we buy with the taxpayers' money will be protected. Mr. Speaker, this bill also places on the GoldBod the responsibility to help check smuggling. This is very good, and we will support our friends on the other side to stop smuggling of gold in any form. But, Mr. Speaker, smuggling of gold cannot be done just by words. It cannot be. It has to take action. And we know that the 2025 budget the minister brought here does not adequately fund the security agencies. It doesn't adequately fund immigration services. It doesn't adequately fund the customs. It doesn't adequately fund the police service. How are we going to check the smuggling? We will recommend that the government will show more interest in investing in these institutions that have responsibility for helping us check smuggling, so that the GoldBod, once established, will live by its objectives, and we as a country can benefit from the operations of the GoldBod. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this discussion.